Hi everyone. I got a request to try my hand at doing some Jimi Hendrix left-handed upside down, specifically the song Hey Joe. It's very commendable to try playing Jimi Hendrix stuff, period, especially with your strings strung upside down. I got my electric guitar out. I haven't played it in about 2 years. You can see there's a bunch of dust up here and dust on the fretboard, and I think there's even some rust on some of the wire strings. And I got my little 9-volt amplifier here because it's off grid here, and it's been cloudy for a while, even though it looks like there's sun coming in on my sunburst. It's been cloudy for weeks and the house batteries are not doing so well. I'm not going to plug in a big amp today, but I am going to try to play this electric guitar here. But I'm gonna bring the camera down and adjust it. I was recommended to check out a particular tutorial that showed how to do it with all kinds of different embellishments. It was really good. It suggested starting with your basic chords just to learn it. That's C major, G major, D major, A major, E major, and then embellish with a D major before going back to the E. But obviously, you're not going to play it that way unless maybe you're singing and have a hard time doing all the embellishments. So some of the suggestions are basically based around power chords and using embellishments on those. Like starting with your C power chord, 3rd fret of the A string, so that's root, and then it's 2 frets higher, 1 string up, and then next to that, so that's root 5th octave. And then do a little hammer on from there before going down to there for the root of your G. So this G is another power chord, root 5th octave, and then you add a major 3rd. I hang my thumb over these strings. I'm not actually fretting it, I'm muting it, but you can do that and then bring your pinky over for the suspended 4th on the G string. And then you can do the hammer on before you go up to the D. But what you could do also, if you wanted to decorate more on this G chord, you could play it like that, but then bring this finger over and not do a full bar chord because that would bring your elbow down. It'd be kind of awkward. And just to kind of do this where you fret just these with this finger, these top 3 strings. And then you have these 2 left over from that, either this power chord or from this bar chord, but those 2 stay there. But then that could free your, if you kind of do this little bit of half cheat chord, that leaves your pinky free to add a suspended 4th, a 5th to suspended 6th, or an 8th to suspended 9th. So it leaves you free to those. So anyways, yeah, C, down to G with the suspension, and then you're on your D, which is just another power chord, and then you do that same little hammer on in the bass. And the A position is the same as the G, and then you could, with that same little root to 2nd of the chord transition, so. So that's kind of, oh yeah, then there is that riff. To get back into it. So that's kind of the way the tutorial suggests playing it with those embellishments. I think I have found a slightly simpler way to play it that makes less hand movement and makes it more fluid. My suggested way of playing it is you could start on the same C power chord, or you could just do a 3rd. I'm liking to use 3rds in place of power chords. Then you could still add that. So that G chord stays the same, but I was doing a 3rd for the C. You could also do the power chord. So here I'm just doing a major 3rd, which is a D on the D and an F sharp. So that's the 5th fret of the A string and the 4th fret of the D string. And then I slide both of those up 2 frets before going down to the A with that same suspension. And then I do the same thing. Instead of a 3rd on the D, I do a 3rd on the E. And then I could add a 7th up here and then an octave here. And so the reason I like to do these 3rds on the D and the E is just because to go from like this G to that D power chord, that requires a lot more movement. So, but my fingers are already right there if I wanted to do the D as a 3rd. So I'm so that's why both moving from that G to the D, I do that 3rd, and moving from that A to the E. So I'm just going from that to that, where it's just these 2 fingers fretting. That's the 7th fret and the 6th fret here on the A and then the D string. The notes being E and G sharp, and then I could add that on the 7th fret of the G string for a 7th of the chord, and then here is another E note at the top to make a dominant 7th here. So we got root, 3rd, 7th octave. Same thing as you could also do that down here on the D if you want. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble, but anyway, so the reason I'm doing it this way and not using power chords is just that it allows me to kind of keep my hand comfortably like this, where I'm just kind of these positions, just your hand is like already right there, and then the D. And then instead of the hammer-on for the D down to the A, I do a little slide. And then I do the hammer-on up to that 3rd of the E chord. And then that riff is like that, which is just, or it could just be. And then that little riff before descending is up here on the, what's this, the D and the G. I don't even know my octave. That's 12th, so that's 11th, 10th, 9th. So that's on the D and the G string, that's barring the 9th fret on these 2 strings, and then going up to the 12th. So that's like 9th to 12th using your index and then your pinky and ring finger. And then I bring my index, or my middle finger down to the 10th fret of the A string to have like this descending 3rd slide to start the riff back over again. So that's oh, sounds like the family's home, so I gotta stop. Hopefully that helps you. That's kind of how to play this song with some embellishments, minimal movement that allows you, because like substituting these 3rds for the power chords or the bar chords really allows you to get those hammer-ons into the chord change a little bit smoother. Because I have like no reverb going on this amp, so it sounds super, super dry on this dusty guitar with rusty strings. But that's the way things go. But hey Joe, singing, and I'm not even singing it well. I'm singing it like with just minimal embellishments. Anyway, that's enough for me.